If you want your home to feel like a resort without wasting money on random upgrades, this video might save you months of trial and error. For the last 7 months, we've been running a slightly delusional experiment. Can complete beginners turn a builder-grade lake house into something that actually feels like a resort? So today, you'll see the 6 DIY upgrades that created the biggest impact and where the transformation actually begins. First up, the garden. One of the upgrades that had the biggest impact was the garden. But not for the reason I expected. When we moved in, the front yard was completely unmaintained. An overgrown maple tree, another tree growing inside the shrub, branches from the side yard scraping the house, and hydrangea trees that had taken over everything. And the biggest lesson came quickly. The resort feeling didn't come from adding plants. It came from clearing first. And the best part? This step is basically free. But here's my confession. I'm a crazy plant lady, specifically obsessed with hydrangeas. We moved in during the fall and I convinced myself that if I didn't plant flowers immediately, I wouldn't see blooms the following year, which led to the hydrangea panic. About 40 hydrangeas and roughly $2,000 later, I ended up with a yard full of very promising sticks. To save money, I bought mostly baby plants. Although, let's be honest, I also bought a few larger ones, which explains the budget situation. Was it financially responsible? Probably not. But in my opinion, every home deserves hydrangeas. When you think about a resort, what comes to mind? One upgrade that truly delivered a resort feeling was surprisingly simple. The swing. We hadn't even finished unpacking yet, but I kept begging Tony to install it as soon as possible. With a letter, a few materials, and a lot of enthusiasm, we got to work. To make it last outdoors, we used weatherproof materials, added floral details for the romantic touch, and finished everything with a waterproof spray. And somehow, it turned into a movie-like moment in our own backyard. It didn't change the entire yard, but it created one spot we didn't want to leave. If you want to recreate any of these projects, I'll leave the detailed videos linked in the description below. But a home resort needs more than a space for one. The next upgrade that brought people together even more was the fire pit. The fire pit was one of the hardest upgrades we tackled. In my slightly delusional mind, I thought it would take just a few days. It didn't. Digging roots, clearing stumps, and moving heavy materials took far more effort than I expected. But it ended up being one of the projects that worked best because we learned something simple. People don't stay for the fire. They stay for the sitting. Once we kept the setup simple with comfortable chairs and a clear space, the fire became a place everyone could enjoy. Even our dog Oreo loved it, occasionally scoring a roasted potato. And yes, having the water view definitely helps. But what really mattered was creating a simple space together. A few chairs and a small fire turned ordinary evenings into moments that felt like vacation. If your backyard feels unused, a fire pit might be the easiest way to change that. That shift reveals something important. Every home resort needs a shared focal point. For us, that next focal point moved inside, to the fireplace wall. One of the most surprising upgrades that worked was our fireplace wall. Before this, it was completely builder-grade, flat, forgettable, and easy to ignore. With about $200 in molding and paint, we decided to change that. And what surprised me most wasn't just how it looked, but how the entire living room started to feel. This project taught me something simple. Even a small budget can make a space feel far more expensive. And as a beginners, we quickly learned that almost no project finishes in a day or two. But that became part of the reward. It gave us time to work together and turn DIY into the perfect hobby for homebodies like us. Because sometimes luxury isn't about adding more decor. It's about fixing the one thing your eye keeps ignoring. Once our living room felt intentional, one ignored space became impossible to overlook: the laundry room. Instead of a full renovation, we focused on beginner-friendly upgrades. Paint, molding, peel and stick tile, and matching gold hardware transformed the space without changing the layout. But the biggest shift came from something simple: a solid wood countertop that finally gave us a real folding area. Laundry never stops, and when the space is functional and pleasant to be in, even everyday chores feel less overwhelming. It wasn't a major renovation, but it delivered one of the most satisfying transformations. Final upgrade was one of the simplest: painting the doors. It was a true beginner DIY and part of our long-term plan to move away from builder-grade white and give every door a consistent color. Switching to a soft neutral beige instantly made the home feel warmer and more cohesive. Paired with gold hardware, even the smallest details started to feel intentional. What surprised us most was how dramatic the impact was for such a small project. Because sometimes, fixing the things you see every day, like a single door, can change how your entire home feels. 7 months in, and we are still building a life we don't feel the need to escape from. Which project felt most like a home resort moment to you? Tell me in the comments. I would genuinely love to know. Next up, our Lakeview guest room and the garage golf simulator Tony has been dreaming about. If that sounds like your kind of journey, I'd love for you to stay. Lake me alone, and I'll see you in the next episode.